Psychopath Diary, episode 11, Drama Club, episode 3. I'm finally recording this. I lost my mic and I couldn't find it anywhere. I may have spent 2 days taking literally everything out of my room and then going through it to try and find the microphone. Ends up, I left it in a shoe and it was like literally the last thing that I looked at. Obviously it would be the last thing you would look at, it would be the place that you find it because you're not going to keep looking. But that's beyond the point. This drama started to get spicy. It's like we're going through the hump of kind of boring that I had problems with, I think, and now things are like actually starting to happen because like they're trying to pull it towards the end, which drama has 16 episodes, so there's only 5 episodes to fix this. I wrote the intro to the drama continues to be pretty, which it does. It's animated and the use of red and blue as contrasts with each other makes it look more interesting visually than it would have been if it was just blue. We get a repeat, as you usually do with Korean dramas, of what happened in the last episode, or every 2 episodes, because usually dramas have 2 episodes a week. So on the first of the next week's dramas episodes, you tend to get a repeat of what happened in the last, a little bit to remind you. So we see Bo Gyung caring for Dong Sik again and how she went through his things and found that suitcase full of money that he borrowed from Inu. She looks in it, sees the money, zips it back up, reads through the messages that she got from the informant, and then we see the director and the staff involved in this drama try to make Dong Sik walking out of the bathroom look scary. And we know that like he's not a bad guy, even though in I think the last episode he accidentally killed Park Musok. He looks like a zombie when he comes out of the bathroom. Bo Gyung is unsettled by the way he looks because he has something behind his back. Her mind's like, because she suspects him, she thinks it must be a knife or like something, but she asks him what it is that he's holding. He's like, it's nothing, and he keeps resisting showing her, and we find out it's a plunger because, you know, he has tummy problems and they have consequences. And he tells her like, go, and she leaves. And when she leaves, she finds Gangpe in the car that Dong Sik borrowed to go see Park Musok, and he finds blood on the mirror inside of, I can't remember what the mirror's called, the mirror that you look through to see behind the back of the car, but not the side mirrors, that mirror. Bo Gyung turning up scares him because obviously he's trying to cover up the blood because he is suspicious that Dong Sik did something to Park Musok, and because he's scared he gets a stammer. Bo Gyung tries to get out of him whether Dong Sik is being threatened and mentions that he needed to loan a substantial amount of money, and she asks him where he was last night and he says, I don't know. And she asks him, you know, have you ever heard of Park Musok? And he's like, no. She tells him that he was killed before leaving, and then Gangpe, as you see, goes back to the car and he hurriedly cleans up the blood. He's like, Hyungnim is so clumsy. And he is. We then go back to So In-woo's house, where his father and Bo Gyung's uncle are talking and drinking tea very formally. And Inu's father asks the uncle, why did you come to see me? And he tells him, like, essentially that he's suspicious that Inu killed the high school girl in Gwangju in Gyeonggi-do 8 years ago when he was the profiler on the case, and that even without a witness coming forward, they would have still seen the suspect at the time as the perpetrator. But the fact that Inu came forward and claimed to have seen them together when he was visiting a hospital opening with his dad, like, helped seal the case. And that also, like, the father had gone to the police commissioner and made the case get sped up at the time that the uncle had thought, oh, this is just chaebol stuff, which chaebols are like family owned businesses that make a lot of money, like Samsung, or a family still owns them, but they're like international companies. They make a lot of money, and basically like they act like nobles in Victorian times. But that after the uncle saw Inu at the hospital being weird with Bo Gyung's dad, he started to suspect that there was maybe more stuff to the case than there was before, and that he thinks that the same person might have perpetrated the murder of Park Musok and that murder back then, and that, you know, we're gonna get DNA soon, so you should worry. And Inu starts like smiling and not bothered by this, and he's like, why are you telling me this? And the uncle's like, because you should know, thank you for the tea. And we see that dad is like in the way that Inu is when his plans are thwarted, so we say. We then go back to when we then see Inu at work in his office, and he's thinking about the death of Musok. And we find out that when Dong-sik and Musok fell down the stairs after fighting each other, that Musok actually woke up before Dong-sik did, where we saw previously that Dong-sik woke up and was covered in blood from the stab wound of Musok. Found out that actually Inu is the one that killed him and arranged the scene so it looked like Dong-sik had done the killing, and that he took blood and hair from Dong-sik and planted them in the crime scene, where they later found by crime scene police. Dong-sik takes the carrier full of money back to Inu, who refuses to take interest from it. They're probably in the same posh bar that they were before, but they're in a different room, like a separate room from the main bar. And it has a really beautiful green repeating floral pattern in like a stylized tile shape on the top half of the walls, and the bottom is wood paneling, but I really like the pattern of the wallpaper in this room. Inu asks whether Dong managed to get rid of his problem, and he replies with, things turned out nicely. And then Inu smiles his shark-like smile again and asks him, you know, why are you so gloomy if the problem's fixed and you should come back to work now? They clink glasses, and he says, you know, Bo-kyung came to look for you, didn't she? Everyone's worried if you keep acting like this, people will become more worried. And we see that people at work are actually worried, and they're all offering to go to his house to find him, even the really annoying manager who's claiming to be, you know, I'm his friend, I should go. A team leader comes out and tells them to work, but he's actually scolding them for working when they don't know whether Dong-sik is alive or not. In the last episode there was like a slight panic that he might have tried to kill himself. Dong-sik eventually turns up at work and looks incredibly tired and like he would rather be anywhere else than at work, and everyone is shocked that he's there. And the team leader shows his like concern for Dong-sik by scolding him for not being on time and not answering his phone. And then everyone starts acting overly kindly to him in a way they've never done before. Even the really annoying manager who like offers to get him coffee. And Dong-sik is just weirded out by this change in behaviour. And I put, like, if this is me, I would be fucking angry. Also now you want to be nice to me? Like, after you thought that I was going to end my life, now that you suddenly like become a decent person. Bo-kyung's also at work, and she's thinking about all the things that have happened with Dong-sik and like all the things that have been off about how other people view him. She asks her partner how does he view Dong-sik, and her partner kind of teases her in a way where it looks like he thinks that the two of them are dating, and says, you know, he's obviously a good person, but that Dong-sik's work continue to be nice and freak him out by that. And then eventually it gets to the point where he confronts them about this new behaviour, and they're like, it's because you're a good guy. And then they go to a team dinner where they're way overly enthusiastic about him, and they try to pressure him to drink, and he looks miserable. He ends up drinking after resisting for quite a bit, and he looks like he might cry at any moment, and people from work keep complimenting him, and he's like, I'm not as good person as you all think I am. And everyone starts apologising for their behaviour, and like I'm still annoyed, but I think at this point you can tell that I hold grudges. They say like, oh, we used you as a shield, and now you don't have to suffer alone, you've got us. In this team you're the most likeable person. And Dong-sik gets really angry and starts shouting like, I'm not a likeable person, I'm not a good person, because he's still dealing with the thought that he killed Musok, when we know now that it was Inu instead, because it's always Inu. The annoying manager hugs him, and it turns into a group hug in which Dong-sik gets incredibly distressed because everyone's being so nice to him when he thinks that he's a terrible person. In a convenience store, Bo-kyung meets Inu, who tells her that Dong-sik has paid him the money back, and that he said that he didn't need it anymore, and that must be a good thing, right? Which makes her worried. She roundaboutly tells Inu that she's started to suspect Dong-sik. And he says that, you know, if I had someone I trusted, that I'm concerned about or suspicious about, then I would inspect them and investigate them as much as I had trust in them. And he's happy that his plan is continuing to fall into place to make Dong-shik take the fall for his actions. In that either way, investigating someone, either way, it will, whichever way the results come out, it'll be a good result. You either find out that they're guilty or they're innocent. And Bo-kyung at this point is uncertain about how to go forward. We see in a bathroom that Dong-shik is crying like a baby and shouting at himself in a mirror that he shouldn't feel this way because he's a serial killer. And the mirror reflection starts talking back to him, saying things like, oh, we can start living a good life now. Dong-shik continues to feel bad, especially towards Bo-kyung, because he thinks he's the one that hurt her dad. And he's like, what's changed with me? You were fine before. Because he thinks he did the previous murders and then it wasn't this distress, because he still can't remember. And he decides, I'm going to turn myself in and tell them what I did. We find out that DNA was retrieved from the murder scene, which might be the planted evidence Inu left, but it's also not in the DNA database, and there's no witnesses or CCTV in that area, so they can't match it at this point. Bo-kyung lies about there being someone she suspects, and you see Dong-shik standing outside the police station with the diary and trying to hand himself in, but the police officers there see him and remember that he's the person that was like a hero before. They think that he's there to see Bo-kyung because they think that the two of them are dating, but she's not in at the moment. Dong-shik is terrified and starts shaking, pulling out the diary, and it's like, I have something to tell you. But he's shaking so much and stuttering so much, the police officer looking at him concernedly. Just as he tries to confess that he's the serial killer, the police officer's delivery of jampong arrives and it distracts them. Jampong is a popular spicy seafood noodle dish with like a broth-like sauce that you can easily get delivery of. It usually comes with like jjajangmyeon or tangsuryuk, like similar. It's like a Korean version of a Chinese dish. Dong-shik starts shouting really loudly to try and get himself to say it eventually, and to get the officers to notice him, but they're too busy getting food and they force him to come and eat with them, and he keeps saying like, I'm going to confess, but they think he's going to confess that he loves Bo-kyung rather than confess to the murders. We see that Inu is sat outside the police station and he's watching Bo-kyung arrive at work at the police station from the car. Gets there, she's shocked to see Dong-shik, and who's been there for an hour, but all the other police officers leave them together because they think it's like going to be romantic. But Bo-kyung is staring at the chopsticks that Dong-shik was using to eat with, because she's thinking, oh, I can get the DNA from them. But the other police officers insist on cleaning the food up so that the two of them can have a romantic time together, which makes her disappointed. And she asks him, what did you have to say? But he's so nervous that he just walks out. Bo-kyung's work partner makes her go after him, and they meet in the street, and Inu is watching the two of them again. She tries to get Dong-shik to tell her what it is that he came to see her for, but he won't tell her, and in the end she makes him go and eat with her again, probably to get his DNA. They end up at Dong-shik's family restaurant where his family is there, and they're happy because they think also that this is a date, and they leave them to give them space. Bo-kyung keeps trying to get Dong-shik to eat, but he won't because he's just eaten. Eventually she forces him to take meat that she's cooked. He uses his own chopsticks rather than hers to take it. His family, who are waiting outside, meet the gangpei agency, who has come to tell Dong-shik something, and they tell him to leave because they realise that he's the guy that caused the massive fight that happened in the restaurant earlier. Both Bo-kyung and Dong-shik are kind of fighting each other to make as many attempts as possible to get what they want, and I don't know, I want to question whether it's even legal for her to use his hair from DNA in this way. I don't know, I think in America you can take something that someone's thrown away, but I don't think you can entrap DNA retrieval. I don't know, they kind of fight a little bit, and it ends with a kind of headlock where his head's on her boob because she's trying to pull out her hair, And then Gangpei kind of wanders into the room and like breaks this opportunity. He seems to think that they're also dating. He ends up sitting with them and he's like, oh, I have no sense. Are you guys in some relationship? Like, some is like a Konglish word that it means like feeling something. Like, it's the sort of relationship before a relationship. Like, there's not enough feelings to like ask someone out, but it's not a friendship. I think that's a good description of what that means. They're both shocked at like the implication that they're dating each other. Bo Kyung leaves to go to the bathroom. Gangpei just tells Dong-sik that he knows that he killed Park Moo-sok and tries to give him advice and tells him that Bo Kyung suspects him. But Dong-sik denies that that's true. We see her in the bathroom getting an evidence bag out. Gangpei just tells him that she's a sly fox and he needs to get his senses back. And she arrives back at the table. Gangpei just blocks her from being able to collect DNA. She pockets a glass and is staring at the glass on the table that's Dong-sik's after he drinks out of it. But that's seen by our friend, our ex-gangster friend, who picks the fight with Dong-sik so that she can't get his fingerprints / DNA. She takes the glass off the table that she thinks is Dong-sik's and replaces it with the one that she has in her pocket, and no one notices that that's happened. Dong-sik asks Bo Kyung if she thinks that he's a good person. She says that, I hope you are, and then he leaves and goes home to deep clean his house, and she takes the glass for DNA checking. We see her waiting outside the room for ages and worrying about the result. Dong-sik puts loads of boxes outside of his room and then puts the red diary in his bag and leaves the apartment. Find out that the DNA doesn't match because it's the Gangpei Ajushi's, and we find out that finally his name is Jang Chil-song, but I'm going to continue to call him Gangpei Ajushi because Jang Chil-song is really hard to pronounce. I think that's what he's become to me at this point. Gangpei Ajushi and Dong-sik laugh together outside of the restaurant about how he managed to save Dong-sik when he switched glasses during a tiny fight, but Dong-sik still believes that Bo Kyung believes in him. We find out that Dong-sik is trying to escape and he's moving apartment. Gangpei Ajushi reassures Dong-sik that he's a good person and asks him where he's going. He says, I don't know. And then Gangpei Ajushi gets really emotional and he tells him, I'll look after the things you wanted me to and the police, but talk to me sometimes. And this continues the theme of his rehabilitation as a character in stark contrast to that of Inu's, where we see him at the beginning of this drama as a bad person who's slowly becoming good, where before we saw Inu as a good person and he's increasingly becoming bad. Inu's dad calls his secretary to meet him in the garden of their house, and the grass in that garden is dead as fuck. He asks her, did Inu ever meet Park Moo-sok? And he says, just tell him that I know about everything, and he knows about the money. Bo Kyung's uncle meets her and asks about the DNA match, but she's still not telling him things, and they find out that the DNA was switched, and she runs out to go and see Dong-sik, but he's not at home or answering her calls, and she sees that he's moved out and thinks that he's run away, but he's actually at his family restaurant having family dinner, and now that he's thinking of running away from his family, he's starting to look at them more endearingly, and he realises that his view of them and their actions is kind of crooked. His stepmother brings up his memory loss. Dong-sik starts crying while stuffing his face with rice, and I'm just like, that's a choke in danger. Don't cry with food in your mouth. He meets his younger brother while coming out of the toilet and gives him a speech about how, you may be the maknae now, but if I'm not here, then you're the oldest son. The youngest thinks that he's going on a business trip and asks to get a present. Inu parks his car and pulls out a black cake box, and I'm just like, of course it's black, it's Inu. Like, we finally see like the outside of his house properly. I mean, his parents' family house, his parents' house, and it's huge. The dad is waiting in the one room that we've ever seen him in, with a manila envelope filled with the DNA results from the murder scene of Park Moo-sok, and it's results of a DNA comparison between Inu's DNA and the DNA found at the murder scene. Inu, upon learning this, doesn't seem very ruffled. The dad lets him know that he knows that he's killed more than just Park Moo-sok. And Inu says that, I used Park Moo-sok a couple of times to get info on people in the company, but the dad already knows that he must have found out Inu's true identity and threatened him. And Inu knows that his dad doesn't trust him, but he's apparently slightly shocked that he is this suspicious of him, and the dad straight up asks him if he is the killer. Inu just casually gives him the papers and tells him to look at them, and the samples don't match. And Inu's kind of like cautiously smiling, and he asks his father like, how long are you going to be suspicious of me? And we find out that like this meeting is happening on Christmas, and we get like the comparison of the fact that Inu's family meal never happens, and Dongshik's having this big family meal with like everyone in his family. Inu gets back in the car, and he seems really angry that like his dad seems to know more than he thought he did, and he rings someone, which ends up being Dongshik, who's leaving his family restaurant. Just as Dongshik's leaving, Bo-kyung turns up but misses him as he gets a taxi at the end of the road and goes to the restaurant where he meets Inu. Not the restaurant, he meets Inu at the bar, in that same room with the green wallpaper that I commented on about earlier being pretty. Dongshik says, oh, I thought you would have been at a party, and Inu asks, I was curious about how your problem went. And Dongshik tells him he wants to quit work because he wants to go travelling. And Inu says, I might want to leave like this one time. And you see that Inu's actively trying to get him drunk by like, at the moment Dongshik stops drinking, he like fills up his cup again. Dongshik tells him that some things are just too dirty and evil, so he's going to burn them somewhere secret rather than throw them away or keep them with him. Inu pretends to be comforting while fishing for more information when Dongshik says someone like you wouldn't understand, and Inu's kind of confused by this, and Dongshik still continues to think that Inu is a good person and tells him, we're complete opposites. I act nice on the outside, but I look down on the people around me like they're insects. We know that the mirror opposites, but it's the opposite way around than what Dongshik thinks. And Dongshik goes on like a little speech about like, how can a human be like this? Is it from growing up without love? Is it because my father always told me that I'm weak? And Inu is being stabbed by these questions because Dongshik is literally explaining his whole mental situation, and he probably feels at least a little bit exposed. And then Dongshik is like, no, it's my own fault because I made the decision to do those things. Even though these bad things happened to me in my life, I made the decision to be a bad person, and that's why I'm trying to run away from this, and that my mum would be disappointed in me. Then he passes out because Soinu's drugged him and is annoyed that he's talked so much, and that him talking for so long makes him want to kill him. He's probably done this to get the diary back after hearing that Dongshik was planning on burning things, and that he probably brought it with him, considering earlier they had a talk about how his bag that he brought with him has everything in it that he needs. Whilst unconscious, Dongshik dreams of the night he tried to kill himself on the roof of the building before being woken up by Inu, when he begins to clutch to the bag like a life preserver. They shake hands, and Dongshik thanks him before leaving, and we find out that Inu has stole the diary back again. Bo-kyung watches the CCTV from a shop and finds footage of Dongshik leaving in a taxi. Inu rings her to tell her that he met him and that he's trying to leave his job, and that he left behind a diary that he says he hasn't opened. Bo-kyung realises it's the one that she gave back to him the night after he was hit by her car, and that the bloody fingerprints are probably being kept on the inside. Dongshik's on a bus when he realises that he doesn't have the diary, and then Inu rings him to tell him that he's left something behind. He desperately makes his way back to the bar where Inu's rented it out so that no one will disturb his plan, and leaves the diary on the bar for whoever turns up first. He puts his murder gloves on and leaves an ice pick that he's placed in the line of sight of someone coming into the room. It's not an ice pick like a big thing, like the ones they use in bars to make balls of ice for like cocktails and stuff. So we see that both Bo-kyung and Dongshik are rushing back to the bar in order to get this diary. Dongshik finally arrives in a taxi, but Bo-kyung has already opened it and seen the fingerprints despite traffic problems along the way. Dongshik re-enters the room just as she's reading it, and he picks up the ice pick that was placed by Inu and hides it behind his back. She notices that he's there, and then he brandishes the ice pick, and then it's the end of the episode. And like, I think we all know that Dongshik's like not going to do anything after everything that's happened. I don't think this is like the point when he becomes a murderer. That's it for this episode. I hope that you liked it, and we meet again, hopefully not as long before we're back again. I promise not to leave my microphone in a shoe this time.